Welcome. Happy Friday. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. This is the Film Threat Podcast, our live stream. If you're listening to this on, say, iTunes or Spotify or one of the listening platforms, you should join us on YouTube where you can be a part of the chat. We've got a lot for you today. Reviews of Alice X from A24, director Ty West's horror film. A lot to say about that. And The Outfit, starring Mark Rylance. And we have the directors. This is going to be a special treat. I'm very excited. Two directors joining us today. The director of Win a Trip to Browntown, an indie comedy, and Broadcast Signal Intrusion, a very ethereal horror film by director Jacob Gentry. Both of those directors are joining us on the Film Threat Livecast today. So thank you for spending your Friday morning with us. And let's get started. A couple of things. It's March 18th. It's the day after St. Patrick's Day, and I went pretty hard. So I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to do the best I can, folks. But this is, I am part Irish, which means I can kick back a few, and I'm fine. So I looked at my kitchen this morning, and it was like trying to solve a baffling mystery of what I did after I got home. It was surprising. It was surprising, but we thank you today for joining us here on the Film Threat Livecast. Let's get things started. And we're back. How's everybody doing? I am joined today by my colleague, Alan Ing.
Hey, I have no Irish in my family, so...
editor-in-chief of filmthread.com. Alan Ing is joining me today. Alan, how are you doing? Did a lot of people that are not Irish also celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, I've been cooking, what is it? Corned beef and cabbage. I've been cooking that for the last 4 years, only to find out that the rest of my family does not like it and wishes I would not make it every year. So this is the first year I didn't, we just had a regular dinner.
Well, I'll just say this. While I love your reviews, Alan, I'm sure your cooking is atrocious.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say that right out. I'm just gonna.
Well, you clearly you've never eaten my cooking, so.
Cool. Well, we should get started. There's so much to talk about today. The background is Win a Trip to Browntown. How did that get?
Is this a giveaway we're doing?
As our background. That's kind of funny. All right, let's just go to our.
I thought you did that on
background there. That's funny. But we got some people in the chat. We'll be going to your chat questions. We're going to be going to your chat questions like between each reviews. We're going to sort of get that review. But also, I just want to say, Cameron Belt, I want to emphasize, thank you, Cameron. Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Share this video. Subscribe if you have not already subscribed to the channel. We appreciate that. And if you want to support our work, one of the things you can do is you can go to shop.filmthreat.com. You can pick yourself up a little mug like this one right here. There you go. I'm drinking coffee out of this thing because I really need it. I really need it today. So, oh my gosh.
Well, was your screening late last night or?
No, I made the choice to, right after the screening, go to a pub. And I went to my one of my favorite dive bars in Pasadena, the 35er. So they should put a plaque there dedicated to me at this point. I've said so much about them, but yeah, that is there you go. Yes, we do have super chats, Cameron Belt. Yes, we fixed that problem. We're trying to add some more stuff to the channel. We want to see, I don't know that we built a large enough audience yet to do memberships. I would like to do some specialty streams specifically addressing certain things about independent film. So, and here we go. Nick Jones is here. Nick, always good to chat with you, my friend. Hello, y'all, he says. So that's great. But thank you. And for some people, it's the afternoon. Yes, the professional human says it's the afternoon. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. On the East Coast, you're eating lunch. Hopefully you've got your, you're at work and you've got, some sort of headset on so you can pretend you're working. So there you go. But yes, and Toxic Waltz N8 says, so my local theater has a 1:45 showing of X or a 1:30 show of The Outfit. Which should I see in the afternoon?
Yeah, I'm guessing there's a clear winner here, and we'll talk about that.
I think there's a clear winner. I'm pretty sure. I think it's going to be X. I think it's going to be
I think you might be right.
Yeah. Right. And the Professional Human says, or in the UK. There you go.
Late afternoon.
Winky emoji. So we've got some films that open in theaters. I believe Alice, the movie we're going to talk about later, which both you and I have seen, is also on video on demand, but in theaters. But let's launch right into it, Alan, and let's get your review of The Outfit.
Yes,
I'm going to throw you full screen so you can take center stage. But tell me about The Outfit. I saw the trailer. Can I just have a little complaint here before you launch?
Okay.
I saw the trailer and I feel like I saw the whole movie. And I don't know if you saw the trailer.
Yes, I have. I really like the trailer. The trailer is really good.
Tell me about the movie.
Yeah, so Mark Rylance stars in it. He plays a tailor who owns a shop in like 1950s Chicago gang operated Chicago. And he is aligned with the Boyle family, but kind of as not involved, but only involved in the fact that there's a drop box in the back of his store that the Boyle family uses to communicate. That's his really only involvement with the mob at this point. He has a secretary played by Zoe Deutsch. I don't have the quite perfect pronunciation of her name, but the two of them run this tailor shop, and obviously he makes suits for the mob as well. And so there's a package that has been dropped off from The Outfit, and we learn what that is. But it's very important to the Boyle family, specifically the son of the main mobster and his associate, whose name is Julian. This is the names I remember. And so life goes on until one day Julian and the son walk in. Son is shot. Looks like a gang war is about to start. There's a package they have that has to be protected. And so the tailor starts sewing up Julian, sews up the son, gets him better, and then soon just kind of intrigue plays out. And what you find out is the Mark Rylance character, the tailor, he's not what you think he is. I think the theme going into this movie, into the story, is underestimated. You don't really know who this guy is, but slowly, certain skills start coming out that just shows that he's not what you think. He's a lot smarter than most people. And he starts playing the son and his partner off against each other, and then he plays. So there's this mystery that unravels as to what's in this package, why it's so important. There's conflict in terms of Zoe Deutsch's character. Life and death is on the line here, and I'll say this. This is a very specific movie. It's one of those it's not for me type movies. If anything I'm saying sounds interesting to you, you probably will have a good time at the movie. But it's small cast. It takes place all in one location. I think there's only 7 people in it. A lot of talking, and it's just one of those mystery movies where things just slowly get revealed. And I think the high points of the movie occurs whenever a new revelation is dropped. And so, but I think at the end, when it was all said and done, when it comes to a mystery movie, you want one that you can go back, watch again, and pick up clues. And I'm not getting that sense with this movie. I didn't walk away feeling enamored or inspired by the story. It's good, and I don't think it's for everybody. But again, I think if anything I've said resonates with you, then go ahead and see the movie. But otherwise, it'll show up on a streaming platform somewhere and you can watch it there.
I mean, it felt to me when I saw the trailer that this is a streaming movie. Like, this is a movie that I don't know if I would rush to theaters. You're saying it was good, but did your voice go up an octave?
Yeah, I mean,
good.
What people will learn about me is, I tend to like movies that aren't flawed or aren't bad in a certain, in a overt way. So, I'll sit through your story, I'll watch it, and then I'll be done with it. And I think the sad thing about it is there's really no reason for me to want to go back and see this movie again.
No, I saw the trailer and I was like, yeah, I don't want to see this movie. I was not intrigued. And I really like Mark Rylance as an actor.
He's very good.
I mean, he's very good, but like, I looked at it and I was like, well, Alan, if we have to divide and conquer here, you go see that. I'm going to see X. And I think I made the right choice. We'll
there's a trend in the movies you give me to see. So
yeah, it's all the movies I don't want to see.
Exactly.
That's the thread is like, yeah, I don't want to see that. That looks, although I was invited to a screening earlier this week and I was just like, the weird thing was, I'm just like, yeah, I would have to drive and then I would have to waste precious gas. I feel like we're living in Mad Max times, but we just don't have like the leather outfits and the assless chaps yet. Mm-hmm. But we're getting very close to, because I'm hearing like weird reports of like people like drilling into gas tanks and like stealing gas. Like, this is happening through LA. I don't know if anyone in the chat has heard of, these are local news stories. Local news is pretty much the only news I trust anymore because it's just real plain and simple. This store got robbed and here's some footage. There's a high-speed chase on the freeway and we're chasing that person. Like, it's like you can kind of see things unfold, or you can see things with your own eyes, and the stories are very cut and dry and simple. And the stealing gas story, it's just like, I mean, look, I've got a fuel efficient car, and I'm just like, I cannot believe what it costs to fill up a tank. Every time I fill up a tank, I'm like, that's a PS4 game I could have bought. Yeah. Like, every time it's like $60+ So
you're giving me, you're triggering me. No, I have a fuel inefficient car.
Yeah,
and it's murder. I mean, we're getting to the point where I'm paying $100 to fill a tank.
Jesus. Well, Cameron Belt says, "Fly, you fools," from California. That is, yeah. If I could get a U-Haul. No, basically what I've done is just sort of held back like certain things that I would do or normally like get at the grocery store. I'm like, that's a luxury. I'm not doing it. And going to see a movie that I'm mildly interested in is on that list. So I don't know. I mean, I might start doing a thing where like it's a twofer. Like, I go to the movies on a Thursday and try to see two movies, in the same day. That might be a better way to go.
That's a good idea. I mean, I was invited to the Lost City today, and I'm like, I don't want to drive to Century City and
yeah. No, I got tickets for it next week. I'm looking forward to that. I've talked to a couple of people who've seen the Lost City, and they say it's going to be a huge hit. Like, it's just like a dumb adventure comedy. I mean, it's basically a remake of Romancing the Stone, effectively. I mean, with like some extra twists. But Gabriel says, "Ha! Soon we'll start getting those bandits that wear skulls as ornaments and whatnot." So, oh my God, that's right. Yeah, no, I watched The Road Warrior a couple weeks ago, and I was like, God, this movie holds up. It's one of those movies that I look at. I mean, I saw it in the theater when it first came out in the 80s back then, and it's just like, it's such a perfect film. There's like nothing I would change about it. It does feel a little dated in the sense that, like, when you look at Fury Road and what those effects are like, but like, dang, it's just spot on perfect. And every bit part is just awesome. And Lord Humongous, I would love to go dressed as Lord Humongous to the gas station. We take the gas. Just walk away. We take the gas. Oh man, I love that film. I don't know what people in the chat think of it. Rewatch that movie now. It's funny. But and Toxic Waltz, and it's as close as Trader Joe's for me, is an hour away.
Ooh.
My monthly trip will have to skip a time. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm just like, and also I feel very fortunate. I live in a walkable neighborhood. So, and I used to live walking distance to a movie theater, and I no longer, because that movie theater is closed. It was the ArcLight in Pasadena, and that was my movie theater. That was the movie I'd go on Thursdays or whatever, and I just go see. There's a rumor it may reopen as an AMC. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Bill 4393 is back. Hey, Chris. Good to see you, Bill. And let's see, Gabriel. It always surprises me how different the first Mad Max was compared to the sequels. Yeah, the first Mad Max was like almost like feels like a student film. Like it was just sort of, and what was interesting is how they use footage from that. It's a good thing that first Mad Max movie exists, because they use footage from it to kind of set up the character of Max in the second film, in the Road Warrior, which was in Australia, of course, and I think other territories. It was just Mad Max 2, right? But like, I love how they use some black and white footage from that to, like, they make it black and white in the Road Warrior. It's really cool. Good setup.
Yeah, I think Blair Witch Project was excellent. Yes. Yeah, I think Blair Witch Project was the same thing. It's like the first one clearly is an independent film. And, I saw a documentary where they talked about when they did the sequel, they realized there's no way they can recapture that genie in the bottle. And so the sequel became just pretty much a straightforward narrative with a big budget.
Right. And Infinite Main says 2 will enter, 1 will leave. See, that's, I don't know. Beyond Thunderdome is kind of cheesy. It definitely, was influenced by MTV and music videos. So
has one of the greatest music videos coming out of it.
That's true. Cameron Belt says, I feel like Fury Road is overrated. I was very whelmed by it. Maybe he means underwhelmed. I still haven't watched the originals, though. You got to watch the originals. Cameron Belt, come on. Nick Jones says, I'm heading to see X on Sunday. Uma is also on tap. Yeah, we didn't get
Uma looks interesting.
But X, we're going to get to X in a moment. We'll get to more of the chat questions here. Anyone seen DMZ Rosario Dawson series on HBO Max? Says Bill 4393. I have not. You know what? I'm embarrassed to admit this. I just started watching Succession. Okay, after much like just people talking about it, it's like, fine. I will watch Succession. Everybody says that season 3 is not that good. I finished season 1 and I was like, wow, I don't like anyone in this series. Everyone is an asshole except for Greg. I like Greg, sort of the nephew that's kind of he's sort of autistic, and I like him. I think that he's the only likable character. He seems to have a moral center, but everyone else is just such colossal assholes. I think that's what Succession is about. Rich people are assholes. Who'd have thunk? That's the whole show. But let's get into talking about X. I'm gonna take this one, Alan. You didn't see X. I saw X, and I remember seeing this trailer like a couple months ago. It's from A24, and A24 already just has like great taste. If you look at A24 movies, they're always eclectic, something different, something strange. They're not necessarily horror films, but they have put out horror films and just very original movies, right? There's that movie that's coming out, I think I'm seeing it next week, with Michelle Yeoh, called Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's a new teaser trailer for that's a minute long. You should go to the A24 YouTube channel after you watch this, after we finish our stream, and check out that new trailer. It's bizarre. It's a multiverse movie, but this is what I love about A24 is everything that they choose to put out into the world is just very original, unique within its category. And if you check out the trailer for X, it's about a bunch of people going to make an adult movie in the 70s. And it was shot in New Zealand, but it's set in like rural America, and it's at a cabin, right? So it's already all the elements already of a horror film, right? They rent this cabin where they're going to make this movie, and they're shooting on film. It's 16 millimeter film. And I was really excited to see like the equipment that they use, because it's like, oh, this reminds me of stuff from that I used in college, right? Like, but it's just a cast of characters. You've got 3 very attractive women, and then you've got you've got like the filmmaking team, and then the adult male actors, right? I don't remember all exactly their names, but you know, you'll see in the trailer, it's like there's types, right? And one of the girls is like the sound girl. She's not in the adult film. Well, they go to rent this cabin, and there's a very weird old couple living in the house near the cabin. Like you're getting like vibes from them, like right out of the gate, that they are messed up. And for those of you that have, been upset that there's been a profound lack of nudity at the movies, you'll be very heartened to see that this movie has a ton of nudity. I mean, everybody gets naked in this film, including the dudes, and there is dong. I'm proud to report that there's something for everyone in this film. And it's just good to see like a horror film that embraces the salacious nature, right? Like there are scenes where people are having sex. It's not graphic, but they're naked and going at it. And the old couple that lives in this house are just kind of uncomfortable with what's happening, even though they're trying to kind of hide that they're making a film, but people are getting naked and having sex on camera. And there's an interesting dynamic between the cameraman and his girlfriend, who is the sound person. You just see the look on her face, and she's getting increasingly interested in the goings on in front of the camera, to the point where she basically tells her boyfriend, like, hey, I want to do it. I want to see what it's like to be on camera and be in an adult film. And of course, he's incredibly uncomfortable with that, which leads to more tension. You kind of get to know them as they kind of like party and hang out together, but we all know what's coming. People are going to get murdered. And on that, the movie does not disappoint. There's this, the old couple, you see this old woman. I'll give away something for the very end. I'll give away sort of like one spoiler, but we're not there yet. And she ends up, because of just, she's so upset by what she's seeing like happening, that, well, people become unwitting victims, and they're dispensed with in horrible ways. And there's some great setup. Like whenever they set something up, it's like, oh, there's a dock with an alligator. It's going to come into play. I don't want to give away too much more, because the surprising deaths are kind of like half the fun, but everything is set up and everything pays off in a really great way. So so let me get into this. Is like a very quick, mild spoiler, but it's also a recommendation. You need to stay to the very end of the movie. It's not like it's a Marvel film with like a bonus scene or what. The shocking thing is that you basically see that the director, Ty West, has already made a prequel to X. In fact, he intends, I think he posted on his Instagram. I was talking to somebody at the screening, and he posted on his Instagram, this is a trilogy. So X is going to be a trilogy, all centered around the origins and motivations behind this older woman. And you see in the trailer, she does a lot of the dispensing with when it comes to the murders. But it's bizarre. It's like a prequel, and it's set in the early 1900s. It's weird. Now, the movie is set in the 70s, right? But the prequel will be set in the early 1900s, and it's her. So stay to the very end of the movie. You'll get like a mini teaser trailer for what will be the prequel, and then Ty West intends to turn this into fully a trilogy, a horror series. And I will say this, what you're getting going in. Look, you introduce these characters, they have sex, a lot of it, and then they get murdered. It happens. And And I love that it sort of leans into the tropes of this kind of movie, a slasher film. Yes, we've seen this type of film before, but it also felt very original because it felt they put a lot of effort into making it feel like it's in the era. I'm talking about everything from the music, the clothes, the set design, even like to me, like the use of the film equipment, like this, horrible film equipment that I used when I was in college. These heavy 16 millimeter, cameras, really bulky equipment that everyone used back in the day. Now, you just use your freaking phone. You just use your phone. This is your make a movie. But I really enjoyed it. I want to see this prequel. I think it's a unique way to go about a film series, not doing a sequel, but jumping right into a prequel, which I think will better explain why things happen, because you really get no motivation for why this older woman is committing these horrific murders. Like, what motivates her? And I believe that the prequel is going to answer those questions. And then, of course, there's a setup for a sequel that I think will be really, really interesting. So so there you go, Alan. That's
I know the ending. The virgin survives.
What's so funny is that's actually not true. So it flips those tropes. I mean, that's what's cool about A24 is they have a tendency to take what you think is a genre that's like tired and been done. They do it and flip it in a different way. I really loved it. Like, if you're not into horror movies, you're not going to love it. I freaking loved it. I thought it was awesome. It got a great cheers from the audience, like for some of those deaths. So
yeah, are the deaths pretty gruesome on camera, or is it all in your head?
Horrific. I mean, there's good psychological horror aspects to it, like tension moments, right? Like they always say that there's like two types of scares in a horror movie. There's a jump scare and there's a tension scare where the audience knows something is going to happen, but the characters in the movie do not know something is going to happen. So those are the kind of two, and it really plays with those. So so there you go.
Yeah, you had me at naked though. That's
no. There's a lot of there's just a lot. Let's get to the comments here. Here we go. Toxic Waltz N8 A24 is my jam. Mine too. I'll gladly watch and take the chance to be disappointed in something than watch a mediocre Marvel movie. Agree. And everyone's like, can't wait for Everything Everywhere next week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be at your screening next week as well.
Okay, yeah. So we're seeing it. Alan and I will have a review. We might even review it on our Wednesday Hollywood on the Rocks. So,
well, the screening's Wednesday, so
it's Wednesday. Okay, so we'll see. Film Facet says, I really like Ty West as a filmmaker. You will love it. Jackass Forever, Toxic Waltz N8 says, Jackass Forever had quite a lot of hanging brain. I've never heard the term hanging brain, but Film Facet says there is dong. Oh, there's one of the adult film performers is a black man, and they take full advantage of the dong aspect of that. I'm trying to plenty of dong. They should have put that as the tagline. Yeah, there you go. Ken Bogus says dong. That's a word I haven't heard in a long time. Cameron Belt says long duck dong. Bill 4393 says, is the alligator Loki? No, but there's an alligator in this movie. So Bill also goes on to say, Chris, a horror film I'm desperate to see is The Black Phone. I have not heard of The Black Phone. I have not heard of that.
I think I've seen a poster. I don't know much about it.
Well, there you go. So let's see. Cameron Montijo says Obi Dong Kenobi. Well, there we go. And then Infinite Main says, very disappointed the hot chick in Jackass 4 didn't get naked. Saw plenty of the guys, not very inclusive. Infinite Main, I agree. I mean, it used to be back in the day with these films is all the women would get naked, but none of the men. I feel like this is very much the nudity in X is very, very inclusive. I'll just leave it at that. So there you go.
So you're saying the better choice was not to get rid of the nudity, but have everybody naked.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. Fine. Throw a little dong in. You're expanding your audience, you know? So I have no problem with it. And plus, because the movie is about a porn film being made, how can it's sort of like back in the day, when there would be a sex scene in a movie, it would be shot in a way where you couldn't see anything, and then the characters in post-coital in bed would be sitting there, and the sheets would be pulled up right here. I mean, that's like a soap opera thing, but also it's been in movies, and you're just like, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes down in real life, folks. People are not holding the sheet sheepishly.
Or worse, they're wrapped in their own sheet, making you wonder, well, how did it
Right.
happen? Yeah.
Kind of ridiculous. But we should just X strongly recommend it. So that's 1 and 1. The outfit kind of a pass, and X a recommend if you like that type of movie. It's very gory. But I will say this, it's fun. It's fun. And the crowd, see it with the crowd. Like, that's the kind of movie that, like, I want to see in a theater where people are kind of rowdy, like maybe even shouting some things, like, I don't mind. It's fun. So let's get into Alice. I think we can both talk about Alice.
Yeah, I saw it.
So Alice is it's a film that is, let's see who directed it. It's the woman who directed it, her name is Kristen Verlinden. Alice starts out at it's on a plantation, and there's, of course, the white slave masters are horrible. All the black slaves are working on the plantation, and Alice is she's learned to read, and she's smart enough that the master will let her come into the plantation home, right? She can work in the home, which is considered status among slaves. Well, things get a little too far. The master of the house, played by Johnny Lee Miller, is very violent, and she fights back. She fights back and witnesses some horrific things, and just runs. She just desperately runs away from this plantation. And as she's running, she's almost hit by a car. And you come to and she's picked up by, almost hit by a truck, driven by this guy. Common actually is the actor in this. He's just a truck driver, kind of an activist and whatnot. And he picks up Alice, and she's in her clothes from the plantation. You come to realize that this plantation is secret, and it's 1973. It's the present day, but they've kept this plantation a secret and running like it's, like it's the days of slavery in America. Really, it's a cool concept, and that happens about 30 minutes into the film is this big reveal that you find out that it's like, hey, it's present day. It's in the trailer, or I would not have ruined it. It's almost, it's not really played like a Twilight Zone kind of thing, like M. Night Shyamalan. It's just sort of matter of fact. And then what's cool about this film, what I really loved, is Alice is kind of like, there's a lot of fish out of water stuff, right? I would liken it to, this is bad, Crocodile Dundee, but I mean in a good way of just like, hey, like dealing with like modern stuff, and she's doesn't know what a lighter is. She doesn't know how a phone works. She doesn't have a last name. She's struggling with her identity. And I will say this, having heard the beginning part of this, you think, oh, this is some preachy, political social justice thing. No, this movie is a straight up blaxploitation movie. And it really takes that turn when she's looking at like images of, this is 1973, right? So she's looking at images of women on like Ebony magazine, on the covers of magazines. And she even goes with Common to see a movie, and she sees, I do know the name of the movie that's in there. It looks like Cleopatra Jones, or just like some,
I think so, yeah. I mean, Pam Grier becomes like the motivation,
right? So she,
for the third act.
yeah, she goes to basically see a Pam Grier like blaxploitation movie, and she's watching the movie, and now she's got like she's cut off her dreadlocks that she had at the plantation. She's got like this full on, afro, and she's inspired. She's inspired, and she basically kind of starts to dress very funky out of like a blaxploitation movie, like, I don't know, Foxy Brown Coffee. What would be some of the other ones? Cleopatra Jones. I don't know what the movie is she's watching. Like, what is the movie she's watching in the movie? I guess we'll have to do some
research. I don't remember.
Yeah. But then it just turns into a full-on blaxploitation film where she's like, I'm gonna go back to the plantation. I'm gonna get my friends. And it's like, it's not. This is the one thing I want to emphasize. The movie isn't preachy. It's not like trying to make a statement about slavery is bad. It's like, we all know, right? It's not preachy. It's just telling the story of this woman trapped on this, like, it's like a time capsule, it's protected, and she's a badass. Yeah. And I love it because blaxploitation, like, if you look at the genre, there have been some documentaries about blaxploitation films. There are classic ones that you can see. I mean, they're all very cheesy, and every single one of the blaxploitation movies, they always work in some political message, but it's very much underneath the surface, while there's like nudity and sex and super violence, over the top violence. This movie, there's not a lot of sexiness. I think that's it's sort of devoid of that, but the violence is like right up there. It's like, yeah. Alan, what did you think? You saw?
Yeah,
I loved it. Let me just say, I
loved it too. I have a qualm which I'll bring up, but I should mention Keke Palmer plays Alice.
Yes, she was great. Okay. She was great.
So I liked it a lot. My issue, though, is that big plot point is put out in all the marketing. So right when you walk in, that she's on a plantation, but this is the 1970s, and so I think a lot of the first act, and it goes on for about half an hour to 40 minutes. Where you just know where this is ultimately going, and so it was a little distracting in a sense, where it's like, when are we going to get to the good part? Because there's a lot of setup. But I think, having said that now, there's a lot of Juneteenth vibes to this. The idea that here's a group of slaves who don't know they're free, and I think that plays out very well in the movie, especially to the point where Alice realizes that she's been free all this time. And there's a whole scene of that revelation where it's, the acting, it goes on for several minutes and it's all in her face. And it's just really amazing. And the ending is, it's very kick-ass.
Don't give away the ending. Don't give away the ending.
Well, I mean,
there's going to be a reckoning. But
yes.
But that scene that you're talking about is really cool, because she's educating herself about like the history that she missed, right? Like, she's been free all this time. She's now educating herself on history. She learns who Abraham Lincoln is, and but just to be clear, it's not done in a preachy way. It's all in service of the story and the character, and it's a modern blaxploitation movie, and bring that genre back. And Common is very good in this. And I do love also like all of the night. It's very 1973, like from the magazines to the music to like, I mean, this would actually like pair well with X. X, you've got your horror, you've got your blaxploitation. I mean, these are movies like that are from a bygone era, right? Like, they don't technically make blaxploitation films, but they should. My only thing is that there should have been some sex in this. There should have been some, because that was really a big part of the blaxploitation genre. So
I mean, there were implications of it. The idea in the first act where the domestics had to they were running out of them, so they had to procreate.
Right. They have additional duties, is what it's implied, but it's not done. I mean, it's like, I find those scenes like kind of hard to watch. It's just like, I find that stuff like difficult to export. The way that it pays off is so well done. It's great. So strong recommendation for Alice. Let's get some go into our chat here. Coffee with Pam Grier. I don't know if Spidey Sensei 72 is saying that might have been
that might have been the movie.
It might have been the film within the film. And Bill 4392 says, yeah, I'm surprised Chris hasn't seen the trailer for The Black Phone or hasn't even heard of it. I don't know everything, Bill. I don't know everything. So
I bet you we posted the poster of it.
I bet there's a review of it, like, or something. I mean, we cover so much stuff. We just like,
it's got a good poster. It's got a good poster.
Look, if you're a filmmaker and you want to get your movie reviewed, just go to Film Threat. There's a little button that says submit. You can just send your movie to us, and we get hundreds of reviews, hundreds of movies submitted a month. We review maybe 150 a month, just because that's our sort of resources, what we're able to do. But there you go. Someone mentioned in the chat the movie The Village, right? Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the vibe I got right from the beginning.
Yeah, Kefka did nothing wrong. So The Village, this is way better. The Village, it's sort of like that's the reveal. The reveal happens much earlier in this film. It's like the end of Act 1 is the reveal, and then what happens to this character, right? She's at an advantage that Alice can read. So that already puts her ahead of the game. And then when she's, picked up by this truck driver played by Common, like her life takes a different turn. So The Village was okay. And it's like, once you know the reveal, that's it.
The reveal had nothing to really pertinent to the story that was told up until that point.
Yeah.
It's just the reveal.
So there you go. But someone mentions Teom 123 says Undercover Brother. Yeah, like that's sort of a modern I guess you could call that a modern blaxploitation. Black Dynamite says Teom 123 again. There you go. So and he also says they used to hire literal prawn stars to film scenes. Makes sense. So yeah, no, it's I really and here we go. Geek Truth 64. I don't know everything. Still Chris Gore from I'm just saying I admit the world of film is so big. Like I know a lot about parts of it, but this is why film is an ongoing conversation. So there you go. Nick Jones cracking open a Faygo. Cheers, Chris. Hey, Faygo. I know that. I know what you're talking about there. There's a little reference in there. Faygo, it's not just about Faygo the drink. It's a lifestyle. We're talking about ICP here, folks, Insane Clown Posse. So there you go. And Cameron Belt says, that's fine. Go back and look at my original comment. I asked if there was more to the movie. You're talking about X or Alice? Yes. All you had to do was say, yeah, there's more to it than the trailer showed. Yes, true. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm behind. I'm just
where's that from my comment?
On the comments. So my apologies. And Bill 439 says, yeah, I wasn't impressed with The Village. Me either. It's like once you know the twist, you actually don't need to see the movie because then you know it. It doesn't, it's not something that is going to hold up with to repeated viewings. Bill also asks, anyone seen Panama with Mel Gibson? No, but I think, do we have a screener of that, Alan? I think we do.
I don't remember seeing it, but
and then Tim 123 says, I do know that, Chris Gore. So and Geek Truth 64, it's important to admit what you don't know. Fear the man who says he knows everything because he truly knows nothing. Yeah, I could say something like, I am the movies. I am the movies. If you're against me, you're against movies. I think if I said something like that, you'd probably think I was an arrogant, pompous ass. But I like to think I'm not that. I like to think that film is a conversation we all have together, and everyone has something to contribute. Even if it's just your opinion, I think it's important to have the conversation. So I thank you all for your comments. And let's see. Gabriel says, The Village is clearly too sophisticated for you guys. And he says he's just kidding. And Geek Truth 64, The Village is a masterpiece compared to The Last Airbender.
Oh, absolutely.
Now let's make a pivot. So you've got like Alice, a recommend, and Alice is in limited release, and it's also it's a limited release and it's on video on demand. X and The Outfit are only in theaters from my understanding. I'm excuse me, I'm funny? I'm burping up the taste of popcorn, Raisinets. I found this. on my kitchen counter. I guess I had gotten into those. Popcorn, Raisinets, and beer. This is what I'm burping up at this very moment.
I went to the Fullerton Dine-In AMC.
So
So I had chicken bacon mac and cheese during my screen.
Healthy choices. Choices. So Infinite Main says I might be in the minority, but I do like the monster stuff in The Village. I like the way that panned out. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And Scott Slaughterbeck says The Village was good. Then the reveal, meh. No one watches The Village again. True. And then, dude, the popcorn aftertaste, not a bad thing to have for a while. Yes, but I haven't had breakfast. I woke up literally just before we starting this. And Bill says, Bill 4393, I'll be having a beer later. Well, I don't know. I think I had enough yesterday, and I had green beer. I don't know what that's going to lead to, but I'm going to guess not good things. You're going
to need bleach for your toilet bowl. So,
and Geek Truth 64, what is Chris's preferred beer? Asking the real questions. I go on the light variety. So Michelob Ultra, Coors Light. Yes, I know. I am mocked relentlessly by my friends when we're out at the bar. They're like, what are you getting, Chris? And I'm like, some terrible light beer. It's either that or a vodka soda, or I've leaned into more recently the hard seltzers because they're low carbs. Don't judge me. All right. So let's get into, we have another film to review today. We actually have the director coming on. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Let's talk about, and Alan, you and I have both seen this.
Yes.
Win a Trip to Browntown! !
Yeah, this is one of those movies where it's like, how in the world did this movie get made? And clearly no studio would touch it.
Yeah, it falls into the category of how the hell did this movie get made? And let's just for a second, I'm going to do a quick reveal. I'm going to do a reveal of the little teaser for it. This just see.
Oops.
Yeah, and it's about exactly what you would think. It's about a family man, a struggling writer who, because of his family life, he's got kids, young kids, and with his wife, he's just not able to focus on his writing. He wants to be a writer. He wants to write a book. He just wants to write something and get attention. And because his family life is so busy, he's not able to pursue his dream. And it frustrates him. His sort of like the sort of daily family grind has frustrated him, where he can't really focus his efforts into pursuing his dream. He has this conversation with his wife, and it's in the trailer, where she basically says, look, because he's a kind of doughy dad bod guy. She says, look, if you lose 50 pounds, you can put your in my fill in the blank. Exactly what you're thinking. So like they have kind of a mundane sex life. It's sort of like, married sex life, kind of boring. And then it's what he ends up doing is he writes a blog that ends up getting picked up on Reddit, and he becomes kind of infamous because of his blog, because he's documenting his weight loss, but he knows what the goal is going to be. The goal is, if he can lose 50 pounds, he will get to do the thing in the behind of his wife. This is a real plot for a movie. Now, here's what's weird about this film. I mean, on the flawed side, I would just say this. The actors are okay. My understanding is the director used his actual children, and they act exactly how you would think that unprofessional actors would act. Some of the other actors, like the two leads, are not too bad, but it's definitely more on the aspiring actor side. I'd rather see the exact same movie with Tom Cruise, is what I'm suggesting, which I think would be very interesting. But what I found weird about this film is that it's not graphic sexually speaking. Like, everything is kind of, I've heard more euphemisms for anal sex than I've ever heard ever in my life, and never even would have creatively thought up the ways that they talk about anal sex in Win a Trip to Browntown. But what's weird about the film, and Alan, I really want your thoughts on this. It's very heartwarming. In a way, it's like, I felt like, you're going to think I'm crazy. It's like It's a Wonderful Life, because what is the story of George Bailey's character, right? George Bailey, he wants to travel the world, and he wants to like have adventures, and he wants to be successful in business like his friends who have traveled the world and been successful in business, but he's trapped by working at the savings and loan, the building and loan. That's what he's working at, the building and loan. And George Bailey, like, he gave up his dreams to have this family, and he's super frustrated at Christmas, right? Like, his daughter's playing the piano badly, and he just swirling around is his family life that he couldn't escape. And, he got married maybe when he didn't necessarily, that wasn't his dream to get married and have a family. He did. And he learns the value of that. And in a way, Win a Trip to Browntown is like that. It felt like, what's weird is the way that it's shot and the way that it's presented is very much like a Disney Channel family movie, but it's about butt sex like that. So I really found that contrast to be really funny. Like how shocking. Like,
yeah, I was there too. The movie is very feel good family at the end. And this is what I like about indie film. It's just that bold storytelling, to take, ultimately it comes down to, the relationship between the husband and wife and how that's strained because of his dreams and things like that. But it takes on, a different dimension when you add anal sex to it. And but then at the same time, there's a few conflicts, a few arguments that just gave me flashbacks to my past with my wife. It's like, oh my God, I've been here. Oh, I've said stupid things like that. I've never had the bet with my wife, but I like a movie that is bold in storytelling, and there's a huge contrast there. Yeah, this would never show up on the Disney Channel, but man, butt sex, yeah.
But the way that it's shot, the way that the story is presented, is very much like a family movie. I thought it was like heartwarming. The conflicts are, got to get the kids to this, picking up the kids from school, got to run this errand, got to do like family business. But it's all with this hanging thing of like, he is really motivated to lose 50 pounds, which is very funny.
Let me say this about the acting, and this is something that I wish like indie filmmakers would take to heart. But I think the issue with me with the acting is, I think actors are too held to the script. And so they are more concerned about getting the lines out correctly than they are about incorporating lines within their character and making those lines feel natural. And I think that's something that's a common theme I see a lot in independent film, and especially independent comedies. Give your actors a little bit of freedom, and actors, rehearse, get those lines down, make it feel natural.
Yeah, no, look, the relationship actually between the husband and wife, which is the core of the film, that actually really works. And then his coworkers, and there's some great payoffs in the end. What I did like about this movie is, we're living in a time when there are not really any great comedies. When was the last like great gross out over the top comedy came out? There aren't any. And this movie, Deadpool maybe, but can you do that stuff now? And there's a great scene near the end where there's this writing it's like a pitch fest, right?
Yeah.
You pitch your book, and there's all this stuff. This movie is so anti-woke. You need to support this film just from that standpoint. The fact that like this movie is like so like you can tell from like the people get up to pitch their projects, and it's like, this is a feminist blah 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 it's sort of mocking the whole idea of the very academic, very highbrow books that people are pitching. Like this one girl has a pop-up book, S is for suicide, right? So that's like, but it's all played for laughs, and it's all like, if you're looking for like an anti-woke comedy, like this definitely hits that. And it's just so bizarre. It's like, I can't believe this got made, and I can't believe it's actually being released, and I can't believe that you can rent it and check it out. So yeah, So here we go. Let's get into some of the comments here. Infinite Main comedy got canceled in 2016. Got to get out and see this one. Yeah, like this. I would also recommend Donnie's Bar Mitzvah, which is a very raunchy, anti-woke comedy about.
It's so wrong. It is
yeah,
great.
Yeah. It's very wrong comedy, and this movie fits in the category of wrong comedy. Geek Truth 64, comedy is the genre that most lends itself to ad-libbing. True, I think it depends on the actors. I think it does depend on the actors.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you were right. When they do get into a fight, it feels very real, and I think that's because we can all relate to it, and it's easy to emote that.
And Kevin Rubio says, sorry I'm late. I was stuck in Browntown this morning.
Oh, congratulations.
Happily. Oh, wow. Well,
congratulations.
That might be a little TMI there, Kevin. So sorry about that. Kefka did nothing wrong. It says Hangover 1. Yeah, like, could you make a movie like Hangover 1? I mean, Todd Phillips said, like, I can't make comedies now, so I made the Joker, right? I made Joker like that. So there you go. And also Kefka goes on to say, well, P and the B does sound pretty wonderful, I guess.
Yeah.
And Gabriel
you should say P and the B, because
Gabriel says peanut in the butter.
That's right.
It's so funny how the movie really goes out of its way to like not actually say. I mean, it's not graphic. It's I don't know. It's talking around.
It's all words.
Yeah. I mean, there is a funny scene where the wife actually, she's like, well, I may end up having to do this, and goes with her girlfriends to a sex shop to get like something that might help her. And I found that very amusing. So there you go. I can see Petula Clark singing Browntown, says Bill 4393. There you go. Chicago Box, Browntown. I want to go to Browntown. Yeah, that could be a song. That could be a song in it. So Cameron Belt says, I'm surprised Tropic Thunder hasn't been scrubbed from existence. It's very disheartening to see that that the comedy as a genre is just dead. That's why I think indie comedy has a real opportunity. Yeah. I mean, I could see a bigger budget version of, Win a Trip to Browntown, a bigger budget version with more familiar comedic actors. And I could see like this very story working. I could see Seth Rogen starring in this, but then he'd have to lose weight.
I remember when Call Me Brother came out, and we loved it. And it's a comedy about incest, and it doesn't beat around the bush at all. I don't know if I should have said that. And it stars Andrew Dismukes, who's on Saturday Night Live right now. And I remember when we were promoting it for Award This, I'm like, are we going to get this guy fired off of SNL? Or if we keep talking about this movie?
Oh, we should talk about Award This. Award This next week, a week from today, we are announcing our nominees for Award This. Today is the last deadline. If you're a filmmaker, submit your movie today. Go to filmthreat.com, click submit at the top, and submit and send us your movie. Today is the deadline, and Award This a week from today. In fact, Alan, you and I, a week from today, are going to go through the website, and we're going to announce our nominees for Award This year, which we're putting on in May. And I've locked down a venue. I can't tell you what it is yet, but I'll tell you, we're going to be in Santa Ana, California, at the Frida Cinema. So, there will be tickets available to the public. It is a big party. You'll be rubbing elbows with indie filmmakers, with the whole Film Threat team will be there. There are drinks, there are goodie bags. It's a fun thing that we've been doing every year. It's sort of a almost parody of an award show, but we give awards to independent films like Win a Trip to Browntown could be in contention for best comedy. You never know. So we will tell you more about Award This. You can go to awardthis.com and check out some of the past events. It's an award show with a sense of humor about itself. And I think that we need more of that these days. So And Kevin Rubio says, "May I submit my film, or am I disqualified, ineligible?" No, you're not. You're not disqualified, but I mean, today is the deadline, Kevin. If you're going to submit a film, there are rules about it. One, you have to have a review on filmthreat.com. Easy enough. The second thing is it has to be in commercial release. So it has to be a streaming service, video on demand, available to purchase so that people can see the movie. That's very important. Those are really the only two main rules.
Well, also it has to have been released in 2021 up until today.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we moved our calendar just because of all the craziness. But submit your movie, Kevin. Today is the deadline. If not, you'll be eligible next year. Let's switch gears. We have a very special guest coming on the show today. I'm very excited to have him on because I saw this movie out of the blue, Alan. And it's Broadcast Signal Intrusion is this haunting horror thriller that is bizarre about a broadcast, sort of a pirated broadcast that takes over the airwaves, and it leads to a mystery, and the lead character of the film becomes obsessed with these pirated broadcasts and what's happening, what does it all mean. And I'm very excited today to have the director of Broadcast Signal Intrusion on. Jacob Gentry is here. Hopefully I pronounced your name, Jacob. I'm Chris Gore, and this is Alan Ng, my colleague.
Hi,
Jacob. How's it going?
Great to meet you guys. How's it going?
Great. You got to tell, first of all, love your background. Classic film noir, and it kind of strikes me now that I think about it. I mean, there are horror elements, but also there's a film noir mystery element to Broadcast Signal Intrusion. Tell me, how did this project develop? What inspired the story, and how you put this together?
Well, the core of the story, I think, is inspired by the Max Headroom incident, which was a broadcast signal intrusion. That it's like kind of the most famous broadcast signal intrusion that happened in the mid to late 80s in Chicago. It's one of the more sort of famous ones because it's unsolved. And so to this day, so there's still a fascination with how it happened, because it wasn't just simply a prank, because you would need sophisticated equipment to even pull something like that off. So it's a point of fascination. And I think that, and being that it kind of felt like that was like kind of the perfect vehicle for like a conspiracy thriller, I could kind of map on to this, like this material, like the kind of interest I have, which is one of my favorite genres, which is the conspiracy thriller. And then as we were working on it, I just sort of this feeling like, well, how do we update this? How do we make it more sort of relevant to today's audience? And I think a lot of that had to do with going, okay, so a lot of the 70s conspiracy thrillers that we love, like Parallax View or All the President's Men, these are things that are sort of based on real life incidents with which we have a very sort of clear knowledge of like what happened, you know what I mean? Like actually the details behind it. And in today, it started to feel like, well, in the 70s, there was this sort of shadowy government. We didn't know as much about what was going on behind the scenes, but whereas now the curtain is completely pulled away, and the conspiracy theorists sometimes seem to be the sort of dangerous or darker aspect of it. So this movie was just sort of like trying to make a conspiracy thriller that sort of was updated for the way that we sort of look at things today, which would be like, is the actual like notion of what psychologically gets you to fall into a rabbit hole of conspiracy. I mean, we can all relate to that. We can all relate to falling into a rabbit hole on the internet about whatever it is, given whatever choice of venue for it, whether it's YouTube or what have you. We've all kind of like, I need to know everything about this. And so it became sort of a psychological study. But the noir element, I think the conspiracy thriller is like sort of a natural progression or evolution of film noirs, like Fallen Angels and Out of the Past or whatever. Yeah, and it all just kind of like gelled together, and then sort of making it a little bit more of historical fiction, if you will, in a way.
Did you go down a rabbit hole yourself with the Max Headroom thing? Because
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I didn't realize it's not solved. Like, this is like a federal crime, right? When you
Right.
hack into, and the only other movie I can think of that did it for comedic reasons was the movie Used Cars, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Do you remember that one?
Of
With
course. Yeah.
Kurt Russell?
Fantastic movie. I love that movie.
That one's like played for laughs and there's nudity. It's goofy, but like that is a huge, like, I mean, that's a crime if you do that, but unsolved to today, that's shocking.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and it's like the challenge was trying to make it sort of interesting to today's audience that sees stuff like this on the internet all day long, right? I mean, it's not the idea of sort of hacking a television broadcast, to me at least, didn't seem as sort of like, how do you make this feel as like sort of a big a deal as it was at the time? Because it was a big deal. I mean, you have everything from the people watching television when these sorts of things happen to, like you said, a federal crime. And essentially to do something like the Max Headroom incident or the Captain Midnight, which predates the Max Headroom incident, which is where a guy hacked into HBO because he was mad about how much it cost. It's not an easy thing to do, and you have to hack into a tower. You have to hack into a transmitter, and there is a lot of sort of hijacking those signals is not a misdemeanor, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like just a very serious crime. And with, deep faking these days, I think deep fakes are going to get so good that you could really, fool an entire audience using that technology. How did the project come together? I really love the tone of it. I really feel we talked about your movie actually a couple of weeks ago. We reviewed it on our YouTube channel and discussed it. So when I had an opportunity to talk to you, I wanted to meet you and talk to you. But the one thing, to me, the mark of a director that knows what they're doing is tone. And I feel you really hit the tone of something that's dark, mysterious, haunting. There's someone wearing like a mask in the film. I don't know if that's something that you had designed or, it was store-bought or something, but like, those scenes, like the scenes of, the pirate video going on, that the video itself, like what led to that? And then how did you, what were some of the things that, you used your sort of tools as a filmmaker to create that tone? I think sound was a big part of it. The sound design contributed quite a bit to the tone, but also just like the selection of the mask for the videos and how those videos played out. Like you get to see them, like, and also the technology, surrounded by all this technology and becoming obsessed with it. Like, speak to me about the tone and what efforts you put into giving it this unsettling tone throughout.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always saw it as sort of, like I said, a paranoia thriller. So the idea of paranoia lurking around every corner, right? Like that even though there doesn't seem to be a direct antagonistic threat to the main character. And just for those who don't know, the movie is kind of a little bit in this style. It's kind of a little closer to something like JFK, where the main character is actually investigating something that had happened years previous. So he's diving into a rabbit hole the same way that I would. But I mean, we did everything visually from, just sort of trying to create the notion of like someone is watching me. When I first read the original script by Phil and Tim, is that I was creeped out and I didn't know why. And because what was the part that I got really freaked out, and I'm not very squeamish. I don't freak out easily, especially with screenplays. So the reason being that freaked out, it was like I was sort of experiencing through the eyes of the main character, played by Harry Shum Jr., which is this sort of feeling that I shouldn't be watching this. And then the other part of that was that, why shouldn't I be watching this? It's not like there's even anything particularly like explicitly wrong happening. in our own version of these intrusions, and I think it's the mundanity of it, and that sort of connected to some of the ideas that we had about there's a creepypasta called what's known as Terror the Android, but it's actually called I Feel Fantastic, and it's just like this robot woman, just literally a robot, like singing this very creepy song, and the sort of like disturbing simplicity of it, because she's just in a like a room like this with no plain walls and just like with a sweater on, and it's just like, and then the wires are coming out of the and it's like a puppeteered thing. And so when I was working with Dan Martin, who is the effects genius who built the mask and created sort of built the sets and all the kind of things for the intrusions, created those intrusions that I put into the movie, is that we were talking a lot about things that just freaked us out, and a lot of that had to do with things that were mundane but had like something slightly off to them, you know. And then I like, of course, there's other inspirations that also have this similarly creepy mundanity, like do you guys remember the sitcom Small Wonder?
Yeah.
It's from the 80s. It's about this little robot girl, and it is far creepier than anything that we could have put in this movie. It's just even just the conceptual aspect of it. You watch it and you're just like, why this? It's, you know, it's not funny. It's like very sort of, you know, it feels like it's probably one of the main sort of impetus for something like Too Many Cooks, that viral video where they make fun of the intros to but yeah, I mean, in terms of like the shooting of it, I wanted to do it sort of anamorphically, like scope, so that and sort of create the sort of have a fluid, sort of formalistic shooting style for the movie, so that would contrast with the fact of what you're watching, right? Like, so if I did it sort of handheld or verite, it would be harder to distinguish between the world of the characters and the world of the movie you're watching. But that being said, what Scott Teal, my cinematographer, and I worked on a lot was sort of starting to have the movie, the formalistic style, the fluid style that we had sort of established early on, it starts to sort of fall apart and become a little looser and a little more erratic. And that was just about a matter of like the main character, he pulls the tape out and it's like it spirals out and the tape like unwinds. And so I wanted the movie to kind of unwind like the tape does in the movie. I don't know. There's a million different things. You asked a lot of questions there, but it's just establishing the tone is just like trying to make sure it happens in every moment, and working a lot with Harry, and Harry, the brilliant actor who plays the lead of the movie. I think because he has such a generous, sort of inviting spirit to him, it made it easier to kind of go, let's invite the audience into this subjective journey. So that has a lot to do with the tone and the feel, is that this is a completely subjective experience. It's one of the few, I mean, there's sort of, it's actually fewer than you think, movies that are highly like 100% subjective, where you only know what the main character knows, and you're not ahead of them, and you sort of only see what they see, and you only experience what they experience. And in doing so, having Harry sort of guide us through this, it's also about like what's going on with him. He's feeling mundane. He's feeling sort of lonely and bored and apathetic, and then that has its own kind of eerie quality to it. The locations contributed to the tone as well, where, you know, the room that houses his archive, where he does his main work, where he discovers this broadcast signal intrusion, that room was like 60 degrees, because there's like it's at the production company's main headquarters, which MPI, where they actually have, you know, they had like the Zapruder film in there. They had like the original film print of the original film print of like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. So the room has to stay really cold, and as you're shooting in there for hours and hours, it starts to like really weigh on you, and it starts to build this heaviness. And there's a heaviness because this movie deals a lot with grief and loss. So and the psychological effects of grief and loss on someone, and how it maybe could cause them to go even further down a rabbit hole than they would have otherwise, because they need something, they need some closure, they need some answers. So all of these things kind of contribute to like how you sort of design the, you know, every aspect of the movie. And that's, I think, you know, working with brilliant people like Sarah Sharp, who did costumes and production design, you know, you just kind of try to inform every decision that you make with the overall feeling of what you want the main character to be experiencing, and thereby what the audience is experiencing.
I will say that like tone, whenever I love to talk to directors about that, because it's a difficult question to answer, but it's also like you're trying to explain magic, because much of, no, I'm serious, much of filmmaking is a magic trick, right? It's deflection, it's, you know, it's distraction, it's looking at this, but this is working in your mind beneath the surface. So I appreciate your answer to that. We've got a lot of comments in our chat. I hope you have time to like get to some of the comments and respond to them. But Alan Ing had a quick question as well.
Yeah. I think you premiered at South by Southwest last year, and
Yes.
you know, that was virtual. I guess I'm kind of curious because, you know, your film didn't go down the traditional film festival route, even though you were in a bunch of film festivals. What was it like, you know, the strategy going in, and then knowing that no one was going to see the movie in the theater, the strategy going out of it, and ultimately getting distribution for it?
I mean, well, the strategy going into South by was just, oh my God, we have to finish this movie before South by Southwest, you know, that kind of thing, because it was really just trying to make sure we had a movie that made sense, or at least attempted to make sense. But they did end up playing in the theater once it was released, you know. It played in a small number of theaters, and we also were able to have a premiere. So I was actually able to see it with an audience in an actual theater. I don't know. It's actually a really interesting idea, because I've thought about this a lot, is like, how much did that contribute to how people saw the movie, and how it plays differently for an audience. I definitely think that a theatrical audience, because you're trapped there, and there is much more of a distinction between, you know, because you're watching a movie about a guy watching a screen for a lot of the movie, right?
Yeah.
You know, we tried to sort of make it cinematic, in the sense of like, that was what I was talking about the paranoia and the tone and everything of like shooting it anamorphically, is like, when you're looking at the television, it only fills up like the middle part of the screen, and then you have the sides where it's like, you know, in Halloween or something, where it's like anything could be coming down the hallway. As far as the strategy of the getting it out there, it was, I don't know, it was just trying to sort of make the best movie and hope that it landed in the way that I mean, virtual sucks. I mean, it sucks as a film, especially with something like South by Southwest. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm saying for film festivals. I'm saying because so much of a film, I'm not saying virtual sucks in general. I'm just saying that for film festivals, it's tough, because it's so much about, especially a film festival like South by Southwest, is about the camaraderie and about the feeling of elation you can feel when you're sitting in a midnight screening with you know, 100 other people, and you're sort of all sort of feeling something at the same time, and then the excitement that you can come out of that, as opposed to just keeping like one social media tab open while you're, you know, going through this movie, because this movie requires, whether fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your tastes, it requires a lot of attention. It's not a second screen movie. There's
also
a lot.
Having
There's
to
a lot
watch
of.
it. I was gonna say, also having to watch on your iPad or your, you know, your streaming TV, it does a disservice to the film in the end.
No, I watched it on a very large 4K television, so I was good. But let's get to some of the comments in the chat here. Bill 4393 says, "Yeah, you can see that Max Headroom Intrusion video on YouTube." And Mike Diver says YouTube views on the incident are huge. There is an interest. Fletcher Williams says perfect movie for today. So there you go. And then Graham Robbins says, I was just talking about the Captain Midnight Broadcast Signal Intrusion a few weeks ago. And it's really interesting. Your movie is kind of named after a thing, right? Broadcast Signal Intrusion is a real thing, a BSI, as Graham Robbins puts it. So there you go.
That was actually one of the I actually kind of wanted us to change the title to BSI because it felt like, like David Caruso there with his glasses or whatever. It's like BSI,
Yeah. And then let's see. Gabriel says, I'll probably check this movie out. Been difficult for me to find a recent horror film that actually tries to be unsettling instead of just loud and in your face. So there you go. Yeah. And let's see. The fact that Fletcher Williams says, the fact there's so many talented people with cool stories to tell that have to work for years to put out a good film, and it's still hard to get it to an audience, yet we get crap today. He's not talking about your film. He's talking about the movies at the multiplex, right? So, and then also Fletcher asks, how can we watch it?
Well, in the United States, it's available on Blu-ray, on VOD, and whatever your choice of video on demand platform is digitally, or you can also get a DVD or a Blu-ray. That's always fun because we do a little director commentary, and it'll look a little better. And then in the UK, it comes out next week. So it's released. Yeah, it's released there. So that's really exciting because we played the movie at Fright Fest in London, and the response there was really great. And I actually wish I could have been there because it was a really fun experience going through that. But yeah.
And Bill 4393 says maybe like Frequency Broadcast Signal Intrusion will end up with a TV series. Yeah, people in the chat were comparing it to Frequency. I don't remember Frequency. That's
the one. Isn't that the one where Jim Caviezel and Dennis Quaid are talking through time to each other?
Cool.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah, I mean they've turned you can pretty much every movie at some point if it's worth its weight in salt, it's turned into a television show, which can be really cool sometimes, not so cool in others. But yeah, I mean the inspiration for the movie has a lot to do with all kinds of stuff, all kinds of pop culture ephemera. I mean there's all kinds of, but the actual movie that you're watching, hopefully will feel a little bit like something like Brian De Palma's Blowout, which is a big inspiration, or the two other movies that are part of that kind of triptych, the Blow Up and The Conversation, where there's a little bit of that process porn action where you're kind of watching someone investigate something using a piece of media and studying it over and over again. I think that's where the whole fun thing about calling it BSI, if you so choose, because it is examining forensically a piece of media. And I think it's like something that I like to do. I like to sort of examine those sorts of things, in the sort of classic, like I said, JFK way of back and to the left, back and to the left.
I love that. I also love a film where the lead character is super passionate and obsessed. And I think that's what makes the film work so well is your cast was just dead on. I know you gotta leave, but I thank you for your time, Jacob. Great to chat with us today. I want to remind everybody in the chat, everyone watching this later, that Broadcast Signal Intrusion is available on video on demand and out on Blu-ray. I assume there's going to be extras on that Blu-ray.
Yeah, there's a commentary with me and the lead, Harry Shum Jr. So we do a little commentary where we dance around explaining everything.
Well, I love commentary tracks. It's Paul Thomas Anderson said commentary for on DVDs and laser discs. That was his education in film. So,
well, yeah, I mean he's the GOAT when it comes to commentaries. I mean, he just kind of he was like, Boogie Nights, best commentary ever. I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jacob, thank you for joining us on the Film Threat Livecast today. We really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here, and I appreciate all the questions from everybody watching.
Awesome. All right, take care. Later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah,
That was great. That
someone
was
from
great.
the chat is in the UK, and so yeah, it's in theaters, so you'll be able to see it there.
Yeah. So I would have loved to have seen it in the theater, but I've got a really good setup with sound in my place, so I don't mind. And it actually kind of added to it. It was just so I don't know, just so bizarre. And the sound is like a thing in this movie that will really work on your psyche. So yeah. Cool.
Absolutely.
We have the director of Win a Trip to Browntown is going to be joining us momentarily. He'll be on at 10:30, but let's go and see if people are talking to you know what? People are talking in the chat about
Everything.
they're talking about comedies. This is a good topic that we should talk about. I know we don't have time right now to really take a deep dive, but you know, God, it's amazing. Someone made a comment here, and my apologies for not being able to find it, but someone made a comment that Robert Downey Jr. was saying that his character in Tropic Thunder, people had less of a problem with his character and more of a problem with Simple Jack, played by Ben Stiller. So I'm sorry, whoever made that comment, I can't find it. I can't find it now. So
and that's I think that's the problem I have with political correctness and wokeness is there's inconsistency. There's it feels like we complain about something to fit our argument than it is to have some kind of value behind. Well, actually, how do you poke fun at, how do you punch down, so to speak, which is another term I hate.
That was Geek Truth 64 made that comment about Simple Jack. I thought look, Tropic Thunder is great. Tropic Thunder is such a classic. Why can't they make why can't they make comedies like that? My feeling is if somebody made a comedy that leaned into everything currently in the culture, everything, and made fun of everybody, left, right, Dem, Republican, wokeness, and all that stuff, just make fun of it all. I mean, like, this is, I think, the reason there's so much tension and the country feels like it's divided, at least when you look on social media. It's not so much when you like go out into the world. It's not like that, but I feel like comedy is an opportunity for us to laugh at ourselves and maybe not take ourselves too seriously. And I think part of my issue with everything surrounding woke culture is it takes itself too seriously. Like, and the it's so hyperbolic and over the top, like literally you've put lives at risk. It's like, no, you just posted a tweet. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, in 99.9999% of the time, it's really just some stupid comment on social media. Right. And I feel like we need a comedy to come out and really poke fun at all this. So people have they have the tools to be able to talk about it in a way so people can just relax. So people can just get off the high horse, step off that soapbox and maybe not take themselves so seriously. So
I would recommend on Netflix now. It's Jimmy Carr's stand-up act, his Dark Material, because he gets into it. He talks about being able to be offensive, being able to punch at everyone and everything, and the entire act is just him going after every single taboo subject, and and without fear of being canceled.
Well, we need comedies that make fun of what's in the zeitgeist, what's happening in the culture, and woke culture is a big thing right now. I don't understand why there isn't a brave studio executive greenlighting something that'll end up being the Blazing Saddles of its time, right? Blazing Saddles is a movie you could not make today. And the commentary in that, the social commentary in it, because all good comedy has some kind of social commentary. It's just you don't hit people over the head. And speaking of comedies that you need to see, we are so pleased today and honored to have the director of Win a Trip to Browntown. I'm going to butcher his name. It's George A. Tramountanas. George, help me with the pronunciation of your name. George.
You were super close. Tramountanas.
Tramountanas. All right. So you are not just the writer-director of this film. You are also the lead actor in this movie. And I'm not sure if you were watching our live stream earlier, but Alan and I were talking about how similar this movie is. I don't know how you're going to take this. It's very similar to It's a Wonderful Life.
I will take that.
Because in a sense, your character, the lead guy, right, has a dream, has a big dream he wants to fulfill. He wants to become an established writer and be recognized for your creativity. And you have a family, and you made a choice. And you made a choice about, like, I'm choosing my family, but you have no time. I really relate to this. Like when my kids were younger, it's like, how do you find like 30 minutes of uninterrupted to just write something? And so I found that aspect of the movie very endearing. This sounds weird. It feels like a family film, but with a little dirty edge, because the concept is your wife will let you in her behind if you lose 50 pounds. So, and the movie opens, I should mention, I'm sorry, this long intro to get to asking you questions, and please post your questions in the chat, because as soon as your movie came up, people have been just talking about it the whole time. So, and part of a thread of our conversation this morning has been about how there aren't many great comedies these days, right? The comedies it's hard to find like a good comedy that just doesn't give a fuck, right? Like, and that's what I really loved about your film, is there's this bizarre wholesomeness, and yet there's a scene where your wife in the film goes to a sex shop to pick up some sex toy
yes,
to help her along.
Some training tools.
Right. But the movie opens with this thing. Can you describe how the movie opens with the word? It needs to be said.
It's funny because the words that open the film, I actually put in literally in the script, because I knew that was going to be the first thing my wife said when she read it. Was like, everybody's going to think this is about me. So I put it on right in the front, dedicated to my wife, who wants me to tell you this film is not based on her.
Tell me what led to this. And also, haven't we met before?
Yes, actually, that's when you were hosting the Ultimate Film Fanatics on IFC, I was one of the contestants back in 2006 for the Northwest region.
So. Wow. Okay. Yeah. My frustrating thing about doing that show was I couldn't talk to the contestants. And when you're around a bunch of movie nerds and you've got like movie knowledge you want to share, it's like I had to held back. But like I don't think you won, but congratulations for getting on the show. That's cool.
Oh yeah. I got to the second round. I was knocked out by Tatum O'Neal, who didn't agree that Robert Zemeckis was a great director. So
well, I'll share a piece of inside info working on IFC's Ultimate Film Fanatic. She was a pain in the ass to work with. You know, she's an Oscar winner, pain in the ass, and behind the scenes, we called her Irritatum. So you should just know that. Just sharing that little piece of it. But like, it's great. I can't tell you how many times I've met like someone who's a hardcore movie geek who becomes a filmmaker. So I really admire that, because I just know, having made films myself, it's not an easy pathway. But like, your wife was not the inspiration, but what was the inspiration?
Well, it was a combination of a few things. So I'm from Seattle originally, and after I graduated college, I went down to LA to become a filmmaker. As a matter of fact, one of my first jobs was an assistant to Oliver Stone, which is where I was introduced to Film Threat, because he loved the cover for Natural Born Killers, which is when I was working there. Wow. Juliette Lewis and Woody Harrelson had a gun to his head on the cover. So I still have that issue.
Oh, that's great.
I went to USC's graduate film school. I was married the whole time. We got married out of college, and I tried, had a manager, tried things down there, but it's a rough life when you're trying to do that. And like the character in the film, eventually I had to come to a decision, like anybody who has a big goals in life. And I chose family, came back up to Seattle and raised family, still writing, still doing things, but had a 9-to-5 job. And in 2016, unfortunately, my mom passed away from cancer, and I put on a lot of weight, and I'd also put on weight over the years raising kids. And I was tired of writing scripts that weren't getting made, and I needed to laugh. And I came up with this idea for what could motivate a guy to lose 50 pounds short of $1 million. And it's kind of funny because I wasn't sure, like, oh, are most people going to relate to this? So I asked what I considered normal husbands, took a little survey, and they were all like, oh, yeah, I'd watch that movie. So, yeah, with that, I wrote the script, and I somehow got my wife and kids to sign off on it. My 2 kids play the oldest 2 kids in the film. And it was kind of funny because every time I wrote a script, they would always ask, oh, when are you going to write something for us to star in? And you better be careful what you wish for. Because, and then, yeah, we shot it over the summer of 2019. We shot it over a 3-month period. And I lost 50 pounds while shooting it. We shot it over weekends because everybody works. It's micro budgeted, but it was a crazy time, but it was good.
Well, that's very good advice. I've talked to countless filmmakers who went into credit card debt because they had to make their movie, and you did the smart thing, just shoot on weekends. That was Christopher Nolan, his very first feature, which is a 16mm black and white film called Following, which is also very difficult to find, but I like to throw out tips to see other films, but he did the same thing. He shot on weekends. He didn't go into debt. He could afford one reel of film to shoot, and would shoot. And when the film was done going through the camera, they were done shooting for the weekend. So very smart to do that. And then, yeah, your character loses weight, so you must have shot chronologically.
On my parts, yes, we're shot chronologically. It was, like I said, I'm not going to joke. I was the writer, director, producer, set designer, everything. I followed the old maxim, write what you have and write what you know. Although the sexual part, I learned a few things too. But
well, it's interesting because, I don't know if you set out to make like an anti-woke comedy, but it doesn't feel, the movie is definitely not woke. Especially, I mean, the couple things that like stand out to me, like that final scene, the pitch fest, all the different pitches. Please tell us where some of that stuff came from. I'm forgetting some of the specifics. The one was like S is for, the pop-up book. I don't know if we can say that word, unfortunately, on YouTube, but some of the other stuff, like, can you talk about, like, you have these people get up and they give these really pretentious, just like, very much trying to appeal to academia and literature. These pitches that are, I mean, I've rolled my eyes at when I've heard pitches like that, like, when they start to describe the lead character and they're basically just describing themselves, the character is a filmmaker, and it's like, oh my God, I can't, that's the worst. But like, can you tell me, like, was there a conscious effort? Like, I'm going to make a movie that just is funny. Or did you think, like, nobody's making good comedies now, I'm going to go for stuff that's raunchy, and I'm just going to go for it. And just a quick reminder to people in the chat to post your questions for George, and we'll get to those near the end. But George, how did you, in the development, was that consciously thought, or you just thought, I want to write something funny?
It was a conscious thought to write something funny. I mean, I've written all genres. I lean towards comedy. But I grew up during the age of Animal House, Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's. Those were my favorite comedies, and I wanted to make something like that. It was in my mind. Like I said, my mom had passed. 2016 was a rough year. There was a certain election that didn't quite go the way people thought, and I just wanted to laugh. And those are the kind of comedies I like. And I said, well, this may be the only chance I get to make a comedy, so I'm going to make it the way I want, about the subject I want. I'm not, like you mentioned, I didn't spend a lot. It's super micro budgeted. I was making this movie for me and my friends, and if other people liked it, God bless them.
Well, it's certainly got to get people like, you will always be the guy that made the Browntown movie. That's just that. I love it. But those pitches you must have had, because it seemed like that was improv, some of it, right? Like it's like, here's your pitch, come up with a pitch for this. Can you tell us a little bit about the specifics of some of those? I just thought that was such a standout scene, and it's a great scene in the movie. So can you talk about some of the specific pitches and how you came up with those?
Sure. Well, some of them, like I said, there's a lot of me in that film. When I was in film school at USC, I'm a child of the 80s. I came in, I was somebody who happily admits I enjoyed Rambo 2, Rocky 4, great movie, but the other guys in film school did not quite appreciate my sensibility, and everything came off really serious every time they were starting to pitch. And I was always deemed as kind of the oddball. So part of it was from that. I did teach some film school, night school, film classes at night school here in Seattle. Seattle is a very, you were talking about already, kind of woke town. And so often the subjects that they would pitch me were very similar to those topics. And so when it came time for Pitch Fest, I came up with some nuggets of ideas that people could expand on. Some of them I fleshed out a little more than others. And it was really interesting because I had all these people lined up to do Pitch Fest, and then 2 weeks before we were set to film that scene, they all dropped out except for one. And so I just really quickly put out ads. We had a weekend session the week before we filmed. They went home and they worked on it. They sent me little clips and things they were doing, and we just put it together on the stage. And I was very pleased and surprised. Oh, one other thing to note, one of the contestants there was actually one of my co-contestants when I was on your show. So,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, he's the winner actually. So,
oh wow. Alan, when we were talking about the movie earlier, said that he really related to the film. He's married. He has a daughter. He totally relates to the movie. Alan, did you have a question?
Just to clarify, I related to the family conflict of the film.
Sure, Alan.
Yeah, and I think that's as I'm watching your movie, I'm thinking, how did this get made? And you I mean, is there a point where you're questioning whether you can actually make a movie with this kind of content, with the bet in mind, and how are you going to sell that movie? What were kind of some of did you have some fears going into it by doing that?
I did. I was kind of curious how certain audiences were going to react, but at the same time, I found kind of people fell into, two groups: people who really loved and were excited by the idea, and people who were turned off and nervous about it. To be honest, I didn't. While it is kind of a strange subject, I don't find it that bad. I mean, this is a guy in the film who's been married over 20 years. I feel, whatever a couple wants to do in their bedroom, up to them, as long, as it doesn't involve animals, another person, or citrus fruit. I think it's good.
Yeah. And when it's guys in their 40s, it's very sexy.
Exactly.
And then I guess you're being distributed by Gravitas Ventures. What do you have an idea of what they saw in it to say, okay, weird plot, but let's go for it?
They saw exactly what I was hoping they would see in it. They said, this is awesome. This is like, an American Pie for adults. Nobody makes raunchy comedies for parents. Like you said, all the raunchy comedies are these college age kids. And you were also asking a little bit, about why this film, how I chose it. And, part of my thing in my mind was, if I'm going to make a film, I wanted to make something that, a studio wouldn't make. What's the point of going to all the trouble making a film if it's something you can just, click on streaming and see easily? So, and I was really lucky. Gravitas got, what we were trying to do, and they loved it, and they've been, a great partner.
Yeah, I mean, I think bold storytelling, that's That's the key here. That's what we're missing in mainstream movies. You know, it feels bold, but it never really is. And I do like a story that is willing to take a risk. And we've seen plenty of comedies recently who have done that, and we're willing to take that risk at all financial costs.
Well, I mean, that's what I love about it. It's just like, this is why independent film exists, to take these kinds of risks, the kind of risk that, like, I mean, although I would love to see this on Netflix, I wonder if Netflix would even pick it up, but let's hope that they do, you know. I mean, it's still a possibility. It's out today, right? On video on demand.
It's out actually on the 22nd.
22nd. Okay.
Yes. Pretty much all video on demand streaming places, Amazon, Apple, Google, YouTube. So yeah, I mean, it's really exciting for me. I made this film, like I said, not sure who was going to see it, and now it looks like everybody who wants to see it can.
Well, we've got a lot of questions and comments here in the chat, so let's get to them. Fletcher Williams says he took the Community Greendale logo. I'm sure that was on purpose. Pretty sure that was on purpose. Browntown, everyone goes to Browntown. They're saying that should be a song that you use. Oteo says, I'm excited for Browntown. Seems hilarious. So even the Infinite Main says, even the opening scroll sounds hilarious. Browntown has an 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb right now. So that's great. People are loving you in the chat. This is great.
Sorry, real quick, just because you're mentioning people wanted to see it, I should mention, for those who use Apple TV or iTunes, there is a flash sale right now. Just this weekend before we're getting launched, it's $6.99. So if you want to buy it,
$6.99 on iTunes right now, and you can see the film. It's cheaper than going to the normal movie theater. Bill 4393 says, did you make this last year with the whole pandemic going on? How difficult was it to make during that period? Did you or no?
We shot the summer before the pandemic, and then we started post. And actually, the pandemic worked a little bit in my favor because I was working at home. So I would do my job, and then I'd hop on the other computer and do some editing and work. So that worked out good. It's interesting. We picked up some of the panoramic shots of Seattle that we shot. We did that during the pandemic, which made it easier, although we had to frame out everybody wearing masks. So, and then it was, we finished. It was a year of film festivals, and now we're out being released.
Nice. Infinite Main says, how old are your kids and what do they think about the movie?
Good question. It's kind of funny. So my kids and my wife, actually, everybody knows of me as kind of the inappropriate guy. I don't swear a lot, but jokes tend to go that way around me. My kids know that. One of their first words when they were like just little was, "That's inappropriate, Dad." And so, yeah, when I gave them the script, I had to explain, this isn't about Mom and me. And they were okay. They kind of rolled their eyes, but they still laughed, and they were game for it. And yeah, I like to say they're equally proud of and embarrassed by me. So,
well, there's every different, you don't directly say actually what's happening. It's win a trip to Browntown, right? Like you kind of talk around it. I feel like a lot of the movie, which is what I loved about it, is a lot of dad jokes are kind of like sprinkled in. And I personally love dad jokes. But someone says, oh, and this is for the record, Fletcher, Alan related to Browntown, but not Turning Red from Pixar.
Yeah, because it was made for me. It was made for me.
Yeah, win a trip to Browntown. And then Bill 4393 says, how long did it take to come up with that euphemism movie title? Because there's so many different ways of talking around it. And it's never, I will say this, this is why movie feels almost like a family film. Like it's not gross. It's not overt. It's beneath the surface. But what do you think about Bill's question?
Sure. Just for the record, one of the ways I like to describe it is like the Ron Howard Parenthood movie written by Kevin Smith, kind of.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. The title actually was one of the things I came up with early on. I wanted a title that sounded fun, but at the same time wasn't overt. And it's really interesting because half the people who hear the title have no clue what it's about. A lot of the cast, until they saw the script, didn't know what they were auditioning for exactly, except for it was supposedly raunchy.
And then Akanika. Oh God, I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. The film seems like it's torn from the pages of a Dan Savage's column, which Dan Savage does a sex column in Seattle. Is that right? Like, I forget the name of his column, but yeah, it's like torn from the pages of that. I can see him reviewing it.
It's funny because I know Dan Savage's name. It's been a long time. I'm sure I must have read him at some point if he's a Seattle writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, this was purely my mind, which is doesn't say much about me. It doesn't speak well, but
Gabriel says, man, if Netflix refuses to pick this up, considering all the other strange stuff they have there, it's perfect for Netflix. Fletcher Williams says, how did you deal with the production cost on what budget? Like you said, you shot on weekends, so I assume you have like a day job, right? Like,
yeah, I was still working a day job.
Mhm.
I lost my job halfway through the shoot, but that's another story. But we just shot on weekends, so everybody except for the crew, the main crew was working for free. The main crew, I'm embarrassed to say that they weren't making much more than a per diem, but like I said, I was making it for me. I wasn't making it to make $1 jillion. I had some friends and family who were willing to kick in a little bit, and it was me. I like to say we shot the film for about the budget of a Kia car. I told my kids they didn't get a car because we made the movie. And then by the time we finished everything, we're probably closer to the cost of a Mercedes. But the nice thing about that, though, is, you only need that chunk to shoot, and then the rest of it you can spread out over 2 years. So,
I mean, I will say it is a good looking film. I mean, it feels very, I wouldn't, it's not Francis Ford Coppola by any means, but, it's, lighting, camera angles, composition, everything, sound. I mean, it's a very, very well put together film.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very fortunate in that, I should say. So, I was just looking at film schools even to grab a cinematographer, but I put out ads everywhere. And this professional cinematographer named Guy Staley saw it, and he had never shot a feature on his own. And he said, send me the script. He loved the script, and he wanted to do it for the budget I was offering. Same with the professional sound guy. And one other thing where the pandemic worked for us. This is going to sound strange. So we had done a rough sound mix that we initially started going out to festivals with. One of my friends from film school, he was friends with one of the sound mixers on Shape of Water, which is an Oscar-winning sound mix. And he was like, he's not doing anything. Nobody's using the studio. Do you want another mix? And he gave me a price I could afford. And so we have an Oscar-winning sound mix.
Well, there you go.
Some more questions from our chat or comments. Ryan Landis says, is the backdoor item to making Browntown number 2? Sorry, I'll see myself out. So there you go. That's fine. And then Bill 4393 says, surely there's already a sequel in the works. What would the sequel be?
I don't know.
How do you elevate that bet? That's
we always joke about that. Is it a threesome? Do I follow one of the kids' adventures? I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm thinking it's a one-off, but.
And Infinite Main says, hope this movie makes you at least a Tesla.
Well, thank you, Infinite Main. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. George, it's been a pleasure having you on our live cast this morning here. This is awesome. The movie is Win a Trip to Browntown. You need to get it's available now for pre-order, $6.99 on iTunes. You can pick it up. It's also on all video on demand platforms on March 22nd. So check out the film. If you are looking for a raunchy comedy for the whole family, it depends on your family. I'm gonna your mileage may vary, but we strongly recommend it. And it's our goal, and it's always been Film Threat's mission to support independent film. I think in particular now, as studio filmmaking becomes more corporatized, more, as Francis Ford Coppola put it, he calls it factory filmmaking. He says that's what modern Hollywood is. We need innovative films like Win a Trip to Browntown.
Thank you so much.
We need movies like that, George. So we thank you. The chat thanks you. Everybody's saying thanks, George. That's awesome. Piers Bronson. Our chat's very active.
That's great. I just want to let anybody know too, if they want to find out more too, we do have a website, triptobrowntown.com. Stop on by. You want to get yourself a t-shirt for somebody you love? Go ahead. We have t-shirts.
Is there a sweepstakes at the website?
Oh no.
Well, as a matter of fact, we are running a pre-order contest. If you pre-order, and then the details are in there. If you send me the receipt afterwards and I see you pre-ordered, you're entering in a contest. 1 out of 10 will win some Browntown merchandise.
You could win a trip to Browntown. All right.
You can win a trip to Browntown.
Kangarooster says, inspired me to lose some weight. So there you go. Yeah, George, it's been real. All the best with future projects you have. Thanks, George. Best of luck.
You could start a nationwide trend with this movie.
Yeah, if you're looking for a movie to help with weight loss and or anal sex, this is the convergence of those two things. Congratulations, George, says Ryan Landis. George, thank you. And it's great to connect with you again. The Ultimate Film Fanatic was a blast. We did 2 seasons of it. And I'm happy to see you're not the only one who was a contestant on that show who went on to make a feature film. The winner, what was his name? Chad. God, I'm spacing on his name. And I interviewed him. Oh my God, I can't believe. I don't know, but he had a movie at Sundance, and it's great. When you get with like real super uber movie nerds, like they're that desire, that burning desire, passion to make a movie is just right in there. So congratulations, and I really want people to discover this film because it's unforgettable. It's unforgettable. It's in that WTF category. Alan and I always talk about it. Like, how did this movie get what? What is this movie? So there you go. People loving you in the chat. So that's awesome. George, thanks again for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you, and so glad you guys enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right. Take care. Later.
You too. Thanks so much.
Okay. Oh, wait. Sorry there, Alan. Here we go. We got to wrap it up today, unfortunately. But someone asked in the chat if we were going to review Uma, which came out today. We did not get a chance to see that. Who said that? It was Mega Movie Z with the capital C.
I know it's in theaters.
Are y'all going to review Uma? That's in theaters, Alan. We will have seen it by next week. Next week, we'll also have reviews of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Additionally, next week we'll have review of what are we seeing next week? Oh, The Lost City. I think we're both going to see The Lost City. So those are the 3 films we'll be talking about next week. We also have some more special guest filmmakers that will be joining us, directors whose movies are coming out. So that will also be next week. And we're going to be announcing, it's a special show. We're going to be announcing the nominees for this year's Award This, which, if you're a filmmaker that's eligible, you can win this coveted trophy. Look at that. Look at that trophy. You can win it. And all you got to do, the movie's got it. You got to enter it today because we're making our decisions in a week. So we thank you so much. We are Film Threat. My name is Chris Gore. You can follow us. We're Film Threat on everything. Me personally, I'm that Chris Gore. We review and champion independent films. Yes, we'll talk about the big mainstream releases in the coming weeks. We're going to be talking about Morbius. I just got my tickets for that. We're also going to be talking about The Lost City, but independent film is our passion. So thank you to everyone in the chat. Dude, you can totally, yes. I can't tell you how many of the winners, like that was the whole thing, is like, we don't want to just give an award. We want to make it like have some sort of purpose.
Multitasking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could throw a cocktail in here. It's great. So, and Award This, look, you can't get a ticket to the Oscars. You cannot get on the list for the Spirit Awards. Unless you're a nominee, you can't. My goal with Award This, anyone can buy a ticket. So if you are you want to just attend the awards and go for fun, it's the entire awards experience. There is a step and repeat. There are photographers and media. There's a pre-cocktail party. There's an after party. Everybody gets a goodie bag. It's the only award show you can buy a ticket to. So go to awardthis.com and there'll be more details on that. Alan, what's your final wrap up? You know what? And I will say just thank you to everyone in the chat. We really appreciate it. We are every week trying to put together a good show for you. We're talking about movies. Our Friday show is movie reviews, director interviews. Our Wednesday night show, Hollywood on the Rocks, is a little different. We usually talk about topics in Hollywood on the Rocks, and we also have guests there. So thank you to everybody. Those are my final words. Alan, where can people find you?
Yeah, Twitter, my pal Al. That's the best place to get a hold of me. Also, the contact page on the Film Threat website that gets to you and me. So
everybody's saying thanks. We
you.
appreciate you, Piers Bronson, Infinite Main, Akanika. I'm going to get that right. Gabriel, thank you again. Ryan Landis, we appreciate it. We're so good now. We're starting to get spam.
I know.
People are spamming us now. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. And if you ever want to contact us, very simple. Just go to filmthreat.com/contact. That email, there's a form you can fill out to kind of let us know what the topic is generally. But, and you know, Alan and I get all those emails, so we will respond to you if you have a question or comment you didn't get here. And there you go. We will be back next week. It's going to be another great show, and thank you for joining us. Alan, take us out.
Let's get out of here.